snap.
Mic check, mic check.
We came back.
Mic check, mic check.
Say it with me.
Mic check, mic check.
Now set it free.
All right, y'all. Here we go. Back. DannieBSpeaks podcast, season 3, episode 3. This episode is going to be a little different, like the vibe of how the show is going to go every now and then. So for this episode, I think we're going to talk about some current event stuff, just things, but more, I guess you could say, lighthearted, more not necessarily serious stuff, but just want to break everything up because the first couple episodes were really just about me and, what has been going on with me and all that stuff. So this episode, I just want to talk about some current events, some things that have just been on my mind, haven't really been able to talk about on Girl You Know What podcast, since we're on a little bit of a hiatus right now. We will be coming back, but let's just get right into it. If you see the rest of the video in a different shirt, that's because I may have to leave in a little bit to go handle something, and I'll finish the recording tomorrow. But we shouldn't be here long, so let me just go ahead and get started. So first thing I want to talk about is, let's go here first, since it's a little bit of older news. So for many people who know me personally, have known me for years, know that diehard New York Knicks fan. So of course, besides myself, that they won the championship, way overdue, and we're not going to really talk that much about the Knicks. One thing I do want to say before I get into, because I'm mainly going to talk about the Spurs, but the main thing that I want to talk about when it comes to people kind of hating on the Knicks, where did that come from? I have never seen, but it's always like that when a team wins, then the hate comes, which is expected. And I saw a lot of hate from fans of teams that have won championships. Your teams, either regardless if you are a bandwagon or whatever, the team that you have rooted for has been winning championships. Let somebody else win. And I think what it is that the Knicks fan base is so strong. To me, it didn't matter who was playing on the Knicks. The Knicks really have never had a favorite player of mine. Like, when I was in high school, my favorite player was Penny Hardaway, and everybody knew that about me. I love Penny Hardaway. Still one of my all-time favorite players. Now, I've had players on the Knicks that I've absolutely loved, like Larry Johnson and Allen Houston, players, like that, Carmelo Anthony, but and tons more, Stephon Marbury, like there are tons of Knicks players that have been on the Knicks roster over the years since I've been a fan that I absolutely adore. So, but that just cracked me up, and it's still a lot of hating, still a lot of, but shout out to the Knicks. I'm so happy that, they finally won a championship. Should have been winning championships for years. I've always had the talent, but this never really worked in our favor until this year. But I do want to talk about the Spurs real quick. Now, I've been a Spurs fan for years as well. I've always liked the Spurs. I've always respected the Spurs. You know, liked a lot of players that they've had on their team, but I was mainly a fan of Coach Popovich. I've just Pop just, it was just something about him that I just always liked and respected. So for people who don't know, he's having some health issues, so he stepped down as coach this year. And they had a new coach. I believe he was an assistant or whatever. Don't get me the line on his name. I can't think of it right now. But, young guy. I think he was like one of the youngest head coaches in the league. And to take one of the youngest teams in the league to the NBA championship, to the finals, I should say, because they're not champions, but to the NBA finals, amazing. Not taking anything away from the coach, the team, and their accomplishment to get there. Um, but this team really made me not like the Spurs anymore. Um, and it could be y- people talk about, and they are a young team. I'll give that to them. They're a young team, whatever. But when you make it to that level, you're a professional player. You've made it to the NBA, you've made it through through the season, the NBA playoffs, and now you're in the finals. And you're you're that close to winning a championship. Now, if they would have won, it would have been, oh, they're one of the youngest teams to ever win the championship, and that's fine. But they didn't win. And the sportsmanship was ridiculous. And I'm tired of hearing about how young they are because, like I was saying, they're professionals now. Um, and especially Wimby, he really showed who he was. Now, people have always been saying that, he's very arrogant, he's a little ignorant, and he showed that. And I think what it is because of his size. The league put him on this pedestal and wanted to make him the face of the league. Um, so when it backfired in their face because he showed his true colors and has been showing his true colors, they don't know how to. So they don't know how to work it. So now it's just, oh, he's young. Okay, whatever. He is young. But I think a lot of people now he's young to the NBA. He's a young guy. He's young to the NBA. He's in his what second or third season, whatever. I don't even know. So, and a lot of the players on the team young. However, with him, not only has he made it to the NBA, but I think a lot of people forget that he has been playing professional basketball for years since he was in high school. So he should, you know, be able to accept defeat, be able to show sportsmanship. The Spurs had no one to be mad at but themselves. They were outplayed and outcoached completely. And it happens. Now, for every time they lost, they kept talking about how they were the better team and this, that, and the third. But do they realize that they constantly, every game, they lost the lead and a huge lead at that? They couldn't finish the game, but they would still sit there and talk about how we're the better team. Okay. That's good to think that, but it was proven that you weren't. So, anyway, I just wanted to get that out because I have been wanting to talk about that, but it's been weeks since the finals, since the championship. But I've been wanting to say that about, and I kind of mentioned, we talked about this a little bit on Girl You Know What podcast, but more stuff started coming out and, watching the clips and, more analysts have been talking about it. And I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that. So there is that. Um, let's stick with basketball and let's talk about this Caitlin Clark bullshit that's going on. So, as a player, as a former basketball player, and I never played on the collegiate level, I never played professionally. Obviously, my game stopped in high school, so it is what it is. I mean, I played intramurally in is that a word? I played okay, but in college. I did play in on the I did play on the intramural team, whatever. But it was fun. It wasn't anything serious, nothing like that. So whatever. So I've never played at that level, anything even close. So, but as a player, I used to respect Caitlin Clark's game, even though she's always been a dirty player. I think by the when she got to the league, She was supposed to be this poster child for the league, same way as Victor Wembanyama, whatever the hell his last name is, Wemby. They're supposed to be these poster children for the league, and Caitlin, amazing player. I'm not going to take that from her. I'm definitely not. Caitlin Clark is a great player, um, but she's a dirty player, and a lot of the women in the league are. Same way with the men. A lot of players are dirty, but she's dirty. She plays dirty. But now there's this one play that really sparked it, which was I don't know why all these names. I know these names and they slip me and I don't write them down. But there was a game a few weeks ago where black NBA player, I mean, sorry, WNBA player, she fouled Caitlyn, and it wasn't really like a hard foul at first. Caitlyn fell, and the girl fell, and I think she was trying to catch her balance, and she was on top of Caitlyn, not on top of her, like where her body was on top of her, but the way she was falling, and she couldn't have fell anywhere else because how it happened, but her hands kind of like hit Caitlyn's neck. So, dangerous, yeah. And she got called for a flagrant and everything, even though it shouldn't have been because she was trying to catch herself from falling. It just so happened that Caitlyn's neck was there. And, but that's how they call the game these days. So from that, all these lawmakers and Republican lawmakers and racists, that's what really set them off. So since then, they have been trying to make Caitlyn the victim. And, y- they're trying to take down the WNBA because they don't like the way Caitlyn's being treated. And there are all these video clips that people have been putting together of Caitlyn doing worse than what happened to her to other players. Black players, white players, it doesn't matter. But what it is, it's just another way for them to race bait. They're always trying to blame black people on, trying to make it about race and everything like that. But the first thing y'all say is that the players in the WNBA are jealous of Caitlyn because she's a straight white woman. The fuck does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with it. I've played sports for years. Women's sports, female sports, girls sports, whatever. Majority of the players are straight. It doesn't matter if you play basketball, softball, volleyball, run track, whatever, lacrosse, whatever. Caitlyn isn't the only straight WNBA player in the league. So now everybody hates her because the league is gay. Every player in the league is gay and black. Basically, that's what they're saying. But everybody hates her and is jealous of her because she's a straight white woman. It's just so ridiculous. And Caitlyn basically she didn't really get too much into it because that's not her. It's not that because she speaks her mind. She says what she wants to say. She lets you know, I'm not about that. Don't make me the poster child. Don't make me, you know, you trying to deflect and all this other stuff, from issues to try to make me front and center of, some kind of agenda that you have or whatever, to distract. Because this is just another distraction. They've never cared about the WNBA before. The WNBA has, really just started getting a lot of traction, and Caitlyn is a huge part of that. So I don't think anyone who's a fan of the WNBA, regardless of being a fan from day one, or if you've been, just became a fan, if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, or one of the other new ladies that is, into the game, Paige, whoever, if you just really started following the league because a player that you watch grow up and start playing was very successful on the in the college level, and that got you into the league because now they're into the league, that got you watching or whatever, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But this is ridiculous. It's just like and that's exactly what it is. It's just a distraction. There are so many other things. Somebody posted, um, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it's Eaton Thomas. I think that's how you pronounce his first name, Eaton or Eaton Thomas, the former NBA player. But he, I think it was him, and I could be wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong, but he basically posted something to say, there are so many millions of Americans without health care, but this is your focus. Y'all still sitting up here, trying to, you know, play like Mitch McConnell is either still in the land of the living or he's not a vegetable out here, whatever's going on, keeping his seat warm so y'all can hold on to that seat, which should be illegal. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. We're not going to talk about politics on this episode. But um, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy how they're trying to make this. And, Caitlyn was just basically like, leave me out of it. You know, she said about the foul that she didn't take offense to it. It's part of the game. She said, I've been hit harder. I've hit harder. So, you know, this isn't a big deal. So she basically said, leave me out of it. But of course they're not, because they don't care. They don't care about her. She's just the pawn, pretty much, for another agenda. That's really all it is. So, regardless of how you feel about Caitlin Clark or not, she's not feeding into this stuff. So, if you don't like her as a player, as a person, whatever, don't don't buy that she's into this crap that they got going on. Don't even feed into that. It's something totally different. It really has nothing to do with the league. It's just something to where they can use her as a straight white woman, in a league obviously full of big black scary lesbians, then that's what they're going to do. So it's just it's, so I think that's all with the sports right now. Well, we don't know where LeBron's going to land yet. I kind of want him to go back to Cleveland to finish his career at Cleveland. I think it'd be good for Bronny too, because obviously where Bron's going to go, Bronny's going to go too. So, but I don't know if this is true or not. I do have one more sports story because I just saw this today. I was perusing on Facebook, and now they just got anybody or anything on your news feed now. I'm like, I don't understand how my algorithm is now, but I do follow a lot of sports. I do, of course, with the Knicks winning, I've been, watching and posting a lot of NBA stuff because I normally don't watch the NBA. I just watched it, when the Knicks got in the finals. Like, I'll watch the Knicks. So, I mean, got in the playoffs into the finals. That was the most I've watched NBA basketball in years. I mean, probably about 10, 15 years, if not, maybe not that long. I think since the last time when the Cavs won. But anyway, I digress. So I don't know if this is true. And we already know Derek Fisher's messy, former NBA player. I don't know if he's still the president of the Players Association. I mean what are they? Is it the Players Association or whatever? I don't whatever. Where they fight for the players, whatever. I don't know. Like almost like their union, I guess you could say. But anyway, I know he was the president for a while. So I don't know if he still is or not, don't care. But he was quoted, and I don't know how true this is, and I really don't like reporting things that I haven't really researched or whatever. But it may not be true what he said, but I think this is how a lot of people feel. So if it wasn't true, whoever made the story up and just said Derek Fisher said it, whatever. But supposedly, supposedly, he said that a lot of Lakers fans like stopped being fans because LeBron came to the Lakers, and they weren't happy with his arrival. They didn't think that he fit in, and they just think basically he's a clout chaser. That's pretty much. I'm not quoting verbatim what was said on the little excerpt that I read that Derek Fisher supposedly said, but that's pretty much what he's saying. Um, and he even said something smart about LeBron, like in that whatever. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if LeBron goes to another team, like say the Knicks or say the Spurs, a team that's winning or whatever, and even though the Cavs made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and they're a great team, it'd be different if he goes back there because that's where he's from. He's from Northeast Ohio. He won a championship with them, and that's where he started his career. So that would be different if he went to a team like that. But to me, LeBron really messed himself up when he put together that team with when he went to Miami, when he left Cleveland and went to Miami. To me, I think people just have been looking at him as a clout chaser, um, someone who's just chasing championships, trying to put a team together. They were saying something about that. I read last week that he may be joining the Warriors. He's joining like every team right about now, but I mean, the Warriors aren't the Warriors that they used to be. I mean, Steph's still good, Draymond, whatever, is still doing his thing, so, but they don't have the caliber team that they did when they were winning championships. And the league is different now. Everyone's shooting 3 pointers, so, I mean, would he really fit in there? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to see him go back to Cleveland. But LeBron's probably going to play till he's about 50. So y'all might as well just get used to him. I don't know how much longer he's going to play, but I mean, as long as he feels he can, do your thing. Do your thing, Bronny. Or I'm sorry, Brian. Um, Bronny too, but Bronny's going to go wherever his dad goes. So, if he sticks in the NBA. Ray J. So Ray J's still out here embarrassing Brandy and Sonya. Um, I mean, so last week, and I'm pretty sure he did something this week too, but he went on, he was high, drunk, whatever he does, probably both, and got on social media and just started airing out all these people that he slept with, um, and just it was just tacky. It was just tacky, trifling, and nasty. And he was basically telling, are they divorced? Him and Princess Love, are they divorced or are they still? But they were married. They're separated, whatever, divorced. But they were married at one time, and they have just one. They have a kid or two. I don't know. Shows you how much attention I pay attention to Ray J. Just when something like this happens, and it just gets your attention, you're just like, girl. So he's on there talking about, these young female rappers that he slept with, and he's telling Princess that you may as well go ahead and move on because I'm not, you know, good for you and all this other stuff, which is she still trying to get back with him? I hope not, because he's just been out here running amok. Per usual, that's what he does. Um, so I don't know, but my thing is this, dude, you are in your 40s and you're still out here trying to act like you're a thug when we know you're not. You never have been. I don't care how many gang members that you hung around when you were trying to rebel against your family, because you were tired of being called Brandy's little brother. Um, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get why he feels the need to still act like this at his big age. He's what, a year or two younger than me, and I mean, come on now. There has to be a time when it's time to grow up. You got money, you got fame, you can't be that thirsty for both right now. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, your sister's been out here killing it, and y'all leave Brandy alone. There were pictures of her that are surfaced, and I mean, Brandy was never a big girl. Now she did put on weight, that grown woman weight, whatever, at one point in time, but we know what business she's in. And I don't know if something health wise is going on with her, but you could tell she's lost a lot of weight. Um, but when you see a celebrity, especially as black people, we always talk about, size and all this other stuff and looks. That's the first thing that we're always going to talk about. Doesn't matter if it's a child, adult, whatever. But people are comparing to how people are talking about Brandy to how they did Chadwick Boseman when he resurfaced right before he passed away when he got very sick. We hadn't seen him for a little while, and he came out and he, looked sick. Like so you could tell something was wrong. People didn't know if he was, um, if he lost weight for a role or whatever. But come to find out, he was dying, and then he ended up passing away. Um, what's her name? Moni Long, whatever. She's a singer, a rapper, or something. And people were talking about her because she gained all this weight. I mean, she's a small girl, but and for her, she gained weight. But come to find out, she has something wrong with her, something, seriously, you know, a serious health issue where she had to get, a major surgery, and she's still dealing with it. And, people were talking about her because of her weight gain. It's just like when you see people going through things and they look sick, you know, why do we just, I just don't understand why we always had to just bring each other down. I don't get it. And I know I may be sounding hypocritical because I'm talking about people, whatever, but there's certain things that I don't think need to be touched. I don't. I just don't think certain things need to be touched. And when it comes to people's appearance, especially if it's drastic, because, you know, Brandy may have just wanted to lose weight. Brandy may, there may be something wrong. But for people to be talking about her appearance the way that they are, it's sad. It's sad. But Ray J, I mean, dude, grow up. Grow up. I mean, it's time. It's time. I mean, and you had your little podcast in your basement. You were doing your thing, whatever. I don't know if you still have it or not. Where you put your glasses and your suit on, and you were just doing that. But yeah, I mean, you're too old. You're too old and it just looks ridiculous. And when I didn't listen to the whole thing, of course, but from what I saw, it just it was just sad. It was really sad. Um and speaking of podcasts and shows and interviews and stuff, Shannon Sharp just has anybody on there now, does he? I mean, he went from having, big names on there, and every now and then he'll throw a big name in there, but I mean, and I do kind of like that he's given a platform to, people who may not necessarily um, be able to, get the type of audience that he has, the size of the audience he has. Because Shannon does a good job interviewing, regardless of what you think about him. Um, but he does a good job at the interviews, and his interviews cause a lot of traction. But I mean, he just has anybody on there now. I'm just like, ooh, okay. Um, Nicci Gilbert. And this isn't even necessarily about her and India Ari, basically talking about Young Miami's song, which is a bop. I mean, it's no. Now I normally don't get into, um, like newer hip hop, newer rap music, newer music. Period. I'm more of an old school girl. And, even music I grew up on now is considered old school, and that's fine. Even music when I was in my early to mid 20s, whatever, considered old school, is fine. But that's mainly what I listen to. But, there are some songs that do catch my attention. And, and that Young Miami joint, it got my attention. And the thing is, it's not the first hip hop song. It's not going to be the last hip hop song ever made. There have been songs that have been, you know, talking about boosting and, whatever, for years. Um, but let young Miami live. I mean, she's doing her thing, whatever. I know people have feelings about her because of Diddy and all this other stuff. Um, but I mean, that's her personal life, whatever. If she wants to stand by her man and support him, whatever. Let her. I mean, that's her business. You don't have to agree with her. You don't have to support her music, whatever. You don't even have to like it. But when these older artists come in, when so much shit is going on, and you kind of understand why the women come out and they say something when a woman does it because they expect more from a woman, which I don't know why you would from someone like Young Miami. I mean, but when you constantly just come out to come at these young women when the men are doing the same, if not worse, and you can't say that you don't care what the men are doing because there still are young men. And you would think that you would want them to have some kind of decorum about themselves, some kind of respect about themselves. But, when you just constantly just have something to say about the women doing this, um, and, it's been bringing up, discussions about, just how black women are treated, period, in the entertainment business and how there's a different standard. There's a huge level of hypocrisy. But I'm not going to talk about India Ari because, to me, I'm a fan of India Ari. I like her music, but she just seems real bitter. She seems bitter, and I guess I can kind of understand why because she's super talented. She may feel like she didn't make it to a certain level because of how she looks, how she carries herself, whatever, and that's understandable. Um, I I don't know. I don't know because I'm a fan, and I've seen her live. I like her music. So I mean, she's in my rotation. She's on playlists and everything. She's in my Apple Music, whatever. But the only time we hear from you is when you got something negative to say. It's not about any new music. It's not about, it's just always something negative to say about somebody else and usually another black woman. Instead of calling out these young black women, why don't you try to reach out to them? Why don't you try to mentor them if you think that everything they're doing is so bad? I'm just saying. But Nicci Gilbert, I mean, when I first saw that Nicci had something to say, I was like, ain't this about a bitch? Because Nicci is another one that always comes out. She can't get her shit together ever. And when I saw she had something to say, I just was like, you know what? I was like, somebody get Selena Johnson because she has not learned. She has not learned. And weren't you the same Nicci Gilbert, or aren't you the same Nicci Gilbert, I should say, who caused all this division and commotion and drama amongst a group of black women that were your peers, that were the same age as you on R&B Divas Atlanta? Hence why, you got read to pieces where all these years later, we can still recite that read that Selena gave you. And every time, pretty much I mean, it's been on my playlist. I mean, in my feed on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Strong because, and I used to like every time it would come across I have it saved on my phone, but every time it would come across my timeline, I would post it because it would only happen like every now and then. But because you need to be reminded, because obviously you forgot, you feel the need to do this again. Now, weren't you the same Nicci Gilbert, who has been in court for years about P Valley. And what is P Valley about? Because for people who don't know, which I'm sure a lot of you do by now, she's the reason why P Valley hasn't come back out because she is trying to prove and she has sued the creators of the show and basically anyone who's involved because she said this was her show that she created this show. Um, if this is true, and I'm not saying it's not, I don't know, but if this is true, what's the difference between what Young Miami or Megan or Cardi B or any of these other young women are rapping about or singing about? Excuse me, y'all. Ooh, sorry, y'all. What's the difference between what they're singing, what they're saying, than the sex, violence, murder, um, titties out, full strip club? And I love P Valley. I'm pissed it hasn't been back on, and I'm kind of not even looking forward to it now because of the bullshit that you've brung. But what's the difference? You created this show allegedly that has worse things about it than what you're pissed about and what you're saying is going on. So I don't get it. I don't get it. But Nikki, just I mean, you and Brownstone can't even get it together. I mean, damn. I mean, you already lost old girl. Another member back in the day. She had to leave because of health issues, but people were saying that wasn't true. I don't know. It was the light skinned one from, when Brownstone first started. And then baby girl who always wore the braids, she ended up passing away, and with the replacements that you have or whatever in the group, singing with you, whatever, when you can, y'all can't even get that together because there's always a common denominator. I mean, it's just girl, I mean, and you can feel how you want to feel like I said about, you know, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of, like I like Megan the Stallion because of her story. I like Cardi B because of her story. And I think that especially Megan, she could really flow. Megan really got some bars, but it's what she raps about. It's not my cup of tea really, the things that she raps about, but I respect it because I respect her as a rapper. And in my opinion, Megan's more of an MC. People may look at her as a rapper because of what she raps about, but Megan got bars. I'm telling you. I mean, if you really listen to her music and maybe not what's put out there or what's more popular, because of course the raunchy stuff's gonna be more popular. But like her freestyles, her stuff from back in the day. I mean, even her mom, when her mom was alive, her mom was a rapper. And that's what got Megan into it because she would always be in the studio with her mom. And, you know, when Megan started rapping, her mom told her, you got to clean up what you rap about. You got to clean up what you're saying. But, her mom was just like, hey, this is what it is. I mean, that's what she likes. That's what she likes to rap about. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. So, I mean, it's just. But instead of always trying to degrade, why not help? Why not? Okay. I was going to talk about Oprah because, I mean, to me, I'm not surprised at anything Oprah does anymore. Oprah's an old lady. Let's keep it real. She's an old lady. And when you get to a certain age, you just say whatever the hell you want to say. I mean, I'm in my approaching my late 40s, I guess you could say. And I'm at that point where it's not even that bad, but I'm going to say what I want to say. You know what I mean? And I mean, what? You know, I mean, I don't bite my tongue much for anything. So, I mean, so I get it. So Oprah is 70 something. Is she 70 or 70 something? So she really don't give a shit. However, I haven't been a fan of Oprah for years. You know, it's like I respect what she's done, what she's accomplished, where she came from, all of that stuff. How she built this empire. I mean, a black woman who is a multi billionaire, basically just for running her mouth. That's what started it. Running her mouth and being in people's business. Now, that's what I'm talking about. You know, and she turned that into this huge empire. So, respect it. I'm here for it. You know, I used to watch the Oprah Winfrey show after school every day. And even when I got older as an adult, when it was still on, I would still watch it. So, you know, I watched the OWN network. That's problematic in some aspects as well, but, you know, she couldn't control everything that happened with people who ended up being on the OWN network, whatever, you know. That so, but anyway, um, I just think that, well, I mean, I'm just going to say this. I've been really done with Oprah when she had Wade Robson and the other dude on talking about Michael and their bullshit of accusations and documentary that they did. Um, she gave them a platform. Someone as big as Oprah gave them a platform. And I think Oprah was jealous of Michael. I think Oprah had an issue with Michael when she did that interview back in the day in the 90s with him at Neverland. And he was basically getting Oprah together. He wasn't really answering her questions. She thought that she was going there as a good girlfriend. And Michael was like, I see you. You know, I see you trying to get all in my business in ways that, you know, you don't need to, that the fans don't need to worry about. Um, you know, so you did that, and then you turn around years after he passed away and you interview these two people who had no basis, who, you know, people knew from the jump that it was bullshit, but you gave them a platform. You're Oprah Winfrey. You can't tell me that wasn't personal, because they shouldn't have had a platform, period. But if anybody was going to give them a platform, it shouldn't have been Oprah. I'm just saying. So that's all I got to say about Oprah. I was going to go deep. I did have her name on some old notes written down to gather her, but I just said, you know what? That's all I'm going to say. Lastly, that I'm going to talk about, because we're running deep. You know, I can run my mouth when I need to, or when I want to, should say. Um, Monica and Kandi versus Tamar. Another common denominator. And I don't know what started the beef, whatever, but um, Tamar is complaining, and Tamar's the common denominator I'm talking about. And I'm not saying Monica's not problematic. I've never, as long as I've been a fan of Monica since she first came out, I've never known her to be problematic, but you don't know. Kandi, Kandi doesn't seem problematic at all. I mean, she's been, you know, even on reality television, Real Housewives of Atlanta, for years, she was on there. And to me, she wasn't problematic. She tried to start some drama, whatever, but you could tell it was prompted, whatever, you know. Um, and, you know, like anybody, I'm sure they could be messy. Um, but Tamar, and I like Tamar. Do not get me wrong. I like Tamar. I'm a fan. I think that she, you know, and you know, I love Tony Braxton, but even Tony said it. Tony said Tamar and Trina. She said this in her book that Tamar and Trina are the best singers in the family. Um, and I haven't really heard Trina. That's my birthday twin, by the way. But I haven't heard Trina like sing solo by herself. Like really sing. And I know she has, but I haven't heard it. Um, so you know, and I mean, like I have the Braxtons CD when it was Tamar, Tawanda, and Trina. I have that, so I mean, I know what Trina's voice sounds like, and even now, when she does sing or whatever. So I know Trina can blow. But for Tony, living legend Braxton, the Tony Braxton, who is one of my favorite singers, for her to say that Tamar and Trina are pretty much better singers than her, that's saying something. But regardless if you like Tamar or not, and I know there are a lot of people who don't like her, Tamar can sing her damn face, feet, hands, arms, everything off. Tamar sings down, okay? Regardless of how you feel. Tamar has an amazing voice. But that doesn't mean that just because you can sing, just because you're talented, it doesn't mean that you can't be messy. And we know Tamar's messy. Tamar herself has said that she's messy. And we've seen it for years. We've seen it with her sisters. We've seen it with, I can't say Mama Braxton because Mama Braxton will still get her together. Um, I mean, when the Braxtons were on Iyanla, um, Tracy, when Tracy Braxton, who was my favorite Braxton, I mean, Tony's like automatic because we all know Tony, we have known of Tony longer, whatever. Um, and she's a legend. So, but Tracy, I love some Tracy Braxton. Rest in peace, definitely. But Tracy didn't take no shit from anybody, but she would be the first one, if need be, to slap the shit out of Tamar. So, Mama Braxton would always say, I'll slap the piss out of you. She'll slap the piss out of her, and Tracy would have slapped the shit out of her. I'm just saying. But, so Tamar is very problematic. Everywhere she goes, it's drama. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is, if it's a professional gig, if it's something personal, whatever. Trouble follows Tamar. I mean, she has, been in and out of friendships, situationships, whatever, relationships. I mean, it's crazy. So, supposedly, I guess it was at Essence, um, Tamar accused Kandi and Monica, and this is Kandi Burris and Monica Arnold, singer Monica, and they're all three Atlanta girls, accused them of being mean girls and being very rude. And I guess they were, talking shit or whatever. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but it's just like, I'm going to say this. Now, we've seen Kandi get pissed on Real Housewives. We seen her go from 0 to 10, but Candy's one of those people that it seems like it takes a lot for her to get to that point. Um, so I'm sure Candy can get with you, no problem. Monica, I mean, she's not called Gunica for nothing. So, she's probably one of them silent ones that you're gonna feel her wrath, but it's gonna be quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'm just saying. So, now I know Candy and Tamar have had issues in the past. One big issue that happened was when T.S. Madison and Kaya were doing the Queen's Supreme Court, and Tamar was on tour. She was opening for Escape when the original four was touring. For I think when they first started to when they got back together and started touring again, like before they started touring constantly, when the original four got back together and started doing their thing. Um, um, Kaya had said some things on the show on the Queen Supreme Court about Kandi and I believe maybe even Tiny. And of course, T.S. Madison, she didn't say anything, but she was there, and she didn't speak against it, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, that's her co-host. Sometimes T.S., sometimes Maddie would be like, hey, like that's chill. But when Kaya gets going, you ain't gonna stop Kaya. And that was part of the thing about the show, about them two doing the show, was that you can tell when Maddie just zoned out and was just like, nope, I'm not getting involved in that. Nope, But when they were at the Atlanta show, and of course that's a big one because they're all Atlanta-based artists, and Tamar was going to have T.S. Madison and Kaya come out and do Next Caller, which was their theme song for the Queen's Supreme Court. Escape got wind, and because of what was said about, some of their members, if not all four, I'm pretty sure they said something about all four of them, but at least Kandi for sure. And I think some stuff was said about Tiny and maybe her family and stuff. But basically, they got escorted out. T.S. Madison and Kaya got escorted out, and because Tamar, they were guests of Tamar, and Tamar was going to give them that platform, which would have been huge because they were in Atlanta. The Queen's Supreme Court was huge at the time. Um, that they were going to, um, it was going to be big, and but they got basically kicked out of the concert, of the show, the arena, whatever, because of that. And they said Ti has something to do with it, whatever, all this other stuff. Which people know how Ti feels about Tiny, and Tiny and Kandi are like best friends, so you weren't gonna get past that. I'm just saying. So I know Kandi and um, Tamar have had beef since then. Now, I don't know what's going on between Kandi and Tamar and Monica, but Monica just don't seem like the type that gets into stuff like that. So if she does have an issue with you, and she was being, you were, she was supposedly, like you said, being a mean girl to you, which at a certain age, it's like we need to stop, using the term bully and mean girls and stuff like that. It's just like, no, they were being a bitch. You could even say they were being mean to me, whatever, but mean girls, come on now. But anyway, um, yeah, so I'm gonna look more into that to see what caused it, what may have led up to it. Was Monica just there, and she's guilty by association, or does she really have a beef with Tamar, which I could see because that's Tamar. And that's why a lot of people don't like Tamar because she's very problematic, and she is. She is. Um, yeah. So that's all that I'm going to be presenting for this episode, episode 3. And we're going to do more shows like this, more current events, where I just give my take and I just go. Hopefully, they won't be almost an hour long. I'm looking, and I've been recording for 54 minutes. But, sometimes when I get going, it is what it is. But the good thing about it is you can pause it, you can come back to it, whatever. So, anyway, until next time, um, as always, thank you all for tuning in. And I will catch y'all on the next one, y'all. All right. Peace.